An old farmer drove over to his neighbor's house and knocked on the door. A boy, around 9 years old, answered. "Is your dad home?" the farmer asked. "No, sir, he's not. He went into town," the boy replied. "How about your mom?" the farmer inquired. "No, sir, she went with Dad." "Is your brother Howard around?" "Nope, he went to town with Mom and Dad too." The farmer stood there for a moment, shifting uncomfortably. The boy, noticing his unease, asked, "Can I help you with something? I know where all the tools are if you need to borrow one, or I can give my dad a message." The farmer hesitated. "Well, it's more of a personal matter. I needed to talk to your dad about Howard. Seems he got my daughter Susie pregnant." The boy paused thoughtfully, then said, "You'll have to talk to Dad about that. I know he charges $500 for the bull and $50 for the hog, but I'm not sure what he charges for Howard." A duck waddles into a convenience store and strolls up to the counter. "Got any grapes?" he asks. The clerk shakes his head. "Nope, no grapes here." The duck quacks a quick "thanks" and waddles out. The next day, the duck returns. "Got any grapes?" The clerk sighs. "No, I told you yesterday, we don't sell grapes." The duck shrugs and waddles away. On the third day, the duck is back again. "Got any grapes?" Now the clerk is fuming. "Listen, buddy. You've asked me 3 days in a row, and I keep telling you, no grapes. If you ask me again, I'll nail your little webbed feet to the floor." The duck blinks, nods, and waddles out. The next day, the duck returns. He eyes the clerk and asks, "Got any nails?" The clerk, still annoyed, grumbles, "No, we don't have nails." The duck grins. "Good. Got any grapes?" They're driving down the street when suddenly they pass a red light. Dorothy, who's sitting in the passenger's seat, thinks to herself, "Oh well, Matilda is getting pretty old and her vision isn't what it used to be. She probably didn't see that red light. Happens to everyone." They drive a little bit more and pass another red light. Dorothy is thinking to herself, "All right, 2 red lights is no coincidence. Maybe I should say something." Well, better not. Matilda always gets anxious when I comment on her driving. So they continue on driving when they go through a third red light. This time Dorothy speaks up and says, "Matilda, what's going on?" "That's the third red light you've gone through." And Matilda answers, "Oh, am I driving?" A woman, pregnant with twins, had a terrible accident and slipped into a coma. While she was unconscious, she gave birth. The problem? Her husband was out of town, so the only person available to name the babies was her not-so-bright brother. When she finally woke up, she panicked. Oh no! What did he name them? She called her brother in a hurry. "Brother, good news. The first one was a girl." "Mom, oh thank goodness. What did you name her?" "Brother, Denise." "Mom, oh, that's actually nice. And the second baby?" "Brother, oh, the second one was a boy." "Mom, and his name?" "Brother, nephew." David Beckham gets in a taxi at Dublin Airport. He notices the driver looks at him insistently in the rear-view mirror. After 5 minutes, the taxi driver asks, "Okay, at least give me a hint." David Beckham sighs and says, "I had a brilliant career at Manchester United, married one of the Spice Girls, and played for more than 100 times for England's national team." "Enough." Driver replies, "No, you idiot. Where are we going?" A blonde reported for her university final examination, which consists of yes/no type questions. She takes her seat in the examination hall, stares at the question paper for 5 minutes, and then in a fit of inspiration takes her purse out, removes a coin and starts tossing the coin and marking the answer sheet, yes for heads and no for tails. Within half an hour she is all done, whereas the rest of the class is sweating it out. During the last few minutes, she is seen desperately throwing the coin, swearing and sweating. The moderator, alarmed, approaches her and asks what is going on. "I finished the exam in half an hour. But," she says, "I am rechecking my answers." One evening, Two couples were playing poker together. During the game, Jim accidentally dropped some cards on the floor. When he bent down to pick them up, he noticed something surprising. Bob's wife, Sue, wasn't wearing any underwear under her dress. Caught off guard, Jim tried to sit back up quickly, but he hit his head on the table and came up red-faced. Later, when Jim went to the kitchen to grab some refreshments, Sue followed him and asked, "Did you see something you liked under there?" Still flustered, Jim admitted that, "Well, yeah." Sue smiled and said, "Well, you can have it, but it'll cost you $500. Jim hesitated, thinking it over. After a moment, he agreed. Sue then told him, "Since Bob works on Friday afternoons and you don't, come by at 2 p.m. When Friday rolled around, Jim showed up right on time. After handing Sue the agreed $500, they went about their business. Once done, Jim quickly got dressed and left. That evening, Bob came home from work and casually asked his wife, "Hey, did Jim stop by this afternoon?" With her heart racing, Sue replied, Yes, he did." Bob nodded and said, "Great. He came by my office this morning and borrowed $500. He promised he'd stop by the house later to pay me back." After 40 years of balancing our company's checkbooks and working his way up the corporate ladder to CFO, it was finally time for Bob to retire. Everybody loved Bob, so we wanted to make his retirement party special. Bob was a bit of a wine connoisseur, so we needed to find him a great bottle. We remembered how much he'd loved the wine served last year at Leslie's 50th birthday party, so we called up the same winery to see if we could get some samples. "I'm sorry, we can't help you with that. But you were so helpful last year for Leslie's party." "Well, Leslie was in sales. So, what's that got to do with it? There's no tasting for accounts." Bud and Jim were two drinking buddies who worked as airplane mechanics in Atlanta. One day, when the airport was socked in by fog, they found themselves stuck in the hangar with nothing to do. Bud sighed, "Man, I wish we had something to drink." Jim replied, "Me too. You know, I've heard you can actually drink jet fuel and get a buzz. Want to give it a shot?" So, they poured themselves a couple of glasses of high-octane hooch and got completely wasted. The next morning, Bud woke up feeling surprisingly good. No hangover, no bad side effects, nothing. Just as he was reveling in his good fortune, the phone rang. It was Jim. "Hey, how do you feel this morning?" Jim asked. "I feel great. How about you?" Bud replied. "Feeling good too. You don't have a hangover?" "Not at all. That jet fuel is amazing. No hangover, nothing. We should do this more often." "Yeah, but there's just one thing." "What's that?" "Have you farted yet?" Bud thought for a moment. "No." "Well, don't, 'cause I'm in Phoenix." A monk from Nepal travels to Germany. When he steps out of the airport, he goes to the pickup lane and raises his hand to call a taxi. An incoming taxi driver notices the Nepali and pulls up next to him with his big, luxurious Mercedes-Benz car. The monk boards the taxi, but as he has never seen such a big and shiny car before, he curiously asks the taxi driver, "What's the star on the hood for?" The driver smirks and replies, "Well, my friend, you know, the star helps my aim. Thanks to it, I can better target old ladies and hit them." The monk is clearly confused, but both laugh and the trip starts to the monk's hotel near the city center. The ride goes smoothly and both do a little bit of chatting when the monk starts to get a little nervous. He thinks, "Man, I have seen at least 8 old ladies now that could have been hit easily. This guy's aim is truly off. No wonder he has this star as help on the hood." As they drive further into the city, they both pass a lot of people and also more and more old ladies on the sidewalk next to the road when suddenly, barong! The taxi shakes and the taxi driver, completely shocked and clueless, hits the brakes and sees an old lady hitting the ground next to them. In complete horror, he turns his head to the monk in the back seat, who calmly says, "If I had not opened the door, we wouldn't have gotten this lady neither." At 85 years old, she decided to indulge in something special, a night at a luxurious hotel. But the next morning, when she checked out, she was stunned to see a bill for $450. Outraged, she demanded to know why it was so high. "It's a lovely place," she said, "but $450 for one night? I didn't even have breakfast." The desk clerk calmly explained that it was the standard rate, but she wasn't having it. "I want to speak to the manager." When the manager arrived, he smiled and explained, "Our hotel features an Olympic-sized pool and a world-renowned conference center, all available for your use." "But I didn't use them," she replied, annoyed. "Ah, but they were here, and you had the option to use them," the manager said with a knowing grin. Then he mentioned the top-tier entertainment the hotel offered. "We have the best performers from around the globe." She huffed. "Well, I didn't see any shows." "Perhaps not," the manager said, "but they were available and you could have." After several minutes of this back and forth, with the manager listing various amenities she hadn't taken advantage of, she sighed, giving in. She pulled out her checkbook, scribbled out a check, and handed it over. The manager looked down, confused. "But ma'am, this is only for $50. "That's right," she said with a twinkle in her eye. "I'm charging you $400 for sleeping with me." Flustered, the manager stammered, "But I didn't." With a wink, she responded, "Well, too bad. I was here, and you could have." A linguistics professor stands at the front of his English class. He clears his throat to begin his favorite part of the lecture, his glasses sliding down his nose. "In English," he says, pausing for dramatic effect, "a double negative forms a positive. Now, in some languages, take Russian for example, a double negative still forms a negative. But," and here he stops, leaning forward slightly, as if revealing a great mystery, "there is no language, none at all, where a double positive can form a negative." He looks around the room, expecting impressed silence or, at the very least, a couple of nodding heads. The students, though, remain mostly still, except for a few confused expressions. Just as the professor is about to continue, an inaudible voice from the back of the room breaks the moment and the students begin to chuckle. "Excuse me, young man," says the professor as he glances at the student in the back of the room. "Did you have a comment? How about sharing it with the rest of the class?" The teen, leaning back in his chair, replies, "I said, yeah, right." 3 sons left home, said farewell to their beloved single mother, and went on to build successful lives for themselves. Years later, they reunited and reminisced about the extravagant gifts they had given their mother for her birthday, each hoping to outdo the others with their thoughtfulness. The first son said, "I built Mom a mansion, 26 rooms, a massive backyard with trees and flowers. It's a palace fit for a queen, giving her all the space she never had." The second son said, "Well, I got her a luxury car. But not just any car, it comes with a private driver to take her anywhere she wants. She'll never have to drive again, and he'll even carry her groceries." The third son grinned and said, "I've got you both beat. You know how much Mom loved reading the Bible, but her eyesight isn't great anymore. So, I sent her an incredible parrot that recites the entire Bible. It took the church elders 12 years to train him. All Mom has to do is say a chapter and verse, and the parrot recites it perfectly." The brothers felt proud, confident that their mother would be thrilled with their gifts. A few weeks later, she sent out her thank you letters. "Milton," she wrote to her first son, "the house is beautiful, but I only use one room, and now I have to clean the entire mansion. Gerald," she wrote to her second son, "I hardly go anywhere these days. My eyesight isn't great, and to be honest, the driver is quite rude. Dearest Donald," she wrote to her third son, "you, my boy, truly understand what your mother likes. That chicken was delicious." A few days after Christmas, a mom was in the kitchen, listening to her little boy play with his new electric train in the living room. Suddenly, she heard him say, "All right, everybody getting off, grab your stuff and get out, 'cause this is the last stop. And for those getting on, hurry up and find a seat, we're rolling out." The mom's eyes went wide. She stormed into the living room and said, "Young man, we do not talk like that in this house. You march yourself to your room and stay there for 2 hours. When you come back, I expect you to use nice words." 2 hours later, the little boy returned, picked up his train, and started again. The mom listened carefully as he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please remember to take all your belongings as you exit. Thank you for traveling with us today. We hope you had a pleasant ride. For those just boarding, kindly store your luggage under your seat, and please remember, This is a smoke-free train. We wish you a comfortable and enjoyable journey." The mom smiled, proud of the change, until he added, "And for anyone upset about the 2-hour delay, please see the lady in the kitchen."